Namaste, dear listeners, and welcome to the Iowa channel Astro In with Abhi, Oneness in Astrology and Spirituality, bringing in awareness by Abhi. If you haven't as yet, please click on the subscribe button, hit the like and share button so that my content can reach as many people as possible. Now, today is the full moon in Libra sign. Sun is sitting in Aries, and we have just underwent over a 2 year period the string of eclipses that were bouncing back and forth between Aries and Libra. Now, there's a question that has been given to me, and this was from one of my readings that I've done today. And the person tells me, Abhi, I have watched your live on the general forecast for all sun, moon, and ascendant signs, and you have mentioned that during the full moon, it's a perfect time to release what is no longer serving you. Now, my question to you is, I have realized that my marriage is no longer serving me. It hasn't been for a while. And is this a perfect time to have a discussion with my partner? Now, I'm going to discuss a relationship trauma during a full moon, the do's and don'ts. Now, you can also check up my do's and don'ts I have done on a previous podcast. But I've decided to do a separate podcast on this purely because I'm going to focus purely on relationships, nothing else. The do's and don'ts regarding a relationship during a full moon in the sign of Libra. Now, to better understand this here, every full moon behaves a bit differently. And we got to look at where the sun's placement is. We got to look at the planets opposing the full moon. We got to look at what sign the full moon is happening in. We got to look at where Saturn is placed. And we definitely got to look at which planets are in retrograde. Now, as we all know that, Mercury has been retrograde. Venus has been retrograde, just started its forward movement now, Mercury. We're still undergoing, when a planet goes direct, we don't get that direct energy immediately. It starts to take off very slowly. So I generally work on a 5 day rule, 5 days before, 5 days after. So we've never really got the full effects of the Mercury in direct motion. And we are going through the Venus retrograde. So we already can see the planets that are opposing this full moon in Libra. So it's a very, very tough time, especially if your relationships are very rocky. For example, I'll give you an example of this. Let's just say if you and your partner, you have a bit of a communication problem, and you decide to, just go with the flow, not to get into any trauma or any relationship discussion, because you know at the back of your head that this will definitely lead in an argument and it will end up draining you out. Now, this is something that you've been doing, obviously, as an example. You've been doing for a number of days, weeks, months, possibly years. And during a full moon in Libra, with all of these planets, where they're placed right now, Sun's placement in Aries, you've got Saturn Saturn is very close to Aries at this point. Um, what does this mean for the direct opposite, the sign that is a polar opposite to Aries, which is Libra? What does it mean for everybody? Now, obviously, I am speaking purely on relationships and the impact of this full moon on relationships, nothing else. So here you will begin to feel that. Remember, full moons are heightened, a heightened, a heightened period. Meaning, depending on your state of consciousness or your vibration or your actual emotions, your emotions are generally heightened during this time. If you look at the water content in the sea, the water content during a full moon rises. Now imagine you've got 72% water in your body. You can only imagine that water is rising up, and we all know that water governs your emotions. Water is governed by the moon. The emotions are governed by the moon. So here we can see that your emotions are very, very high. Now, how would you proceed in such an instance where you've outlined the issues in the relationship and you know that certain moves you make, it cannot get you anywhere? And during a full moon, it reached its peak, obviously. and it's causing you immense trauma. How do you navigate this year? Now, firstly, I would like to tell you that full moons, yes, is a perfect time to let go. Full moons are not the time for you to hold on to anything that is not functioning for you. Full moons are to close chapters. Full moons are about culminations. Full moons are about walking away from the things that no longer serve you. So, how would you proceed during a full moon with a relationship trauma? Firstly, I would like to tell you that number one, during this time, not just on the full moon, but over the next 6 months, it's a perfect time for you to map out what are the key areas that is called for development in the relationship, marriage, or what have you. Can I work with certain factors? And if so, is my partner willing to work with me? Now, let's just say you establish that you are on your own and your partner is not willing to work with you. Then you got to look at, okay, um, do I have any dependents? Or am I just dating the person? Or am I married but with no kids? You got to take all of this into consideration before you make any moves. Remember, your moves, if you do have kids, your decisions will impact the livelihoods of your kids. When I say livelihoods, I'm not talking about the financial livelihood, I'm talking about the emotional livelihood, because there's a consequence to that. And you better be prepared if you are walking down that road of separation. Let's just say if you don't have kids, this is a perfect time for you to outline all the things that you are going through in the relationship. And next to it, write down, is my partner willing to work with me? And if not, you're going to write down, I'm on my own. And you're going to list all the things that you are having trouble with in the relationship and write down the things that your partner is responsible for and the things that you are responsible for. Basically, write down the things that that are of concern in the relationship and who's accountable for it. Well, obviously, it's your partner if it's concerning you. But sometimes you got to look at a situation so deep, you need to understand the other person's view on it before you make decisions. Because sometimes you might think it's your partner's contribution to make. Meanwhile, it could be your contribution that you haven't seen it the right way. So you got to look at the depthness of what you're feeling and where is it coming from, how deep, how true are the facts. The facts are always facts; they never alter. But how true is your emotions? How true is what you're feeling? Is it true? It's your job to go dig deep into it. And therefore, it's important to include the other person. But let's just say you don't have the support of the other person where he or she doesn't want to engage in such conversations. Then what you need to do is write down not willing to comply. And in the end, once you got all the things that are of concern in the relationship, you tally it and see which are the things that you're both able to work on, and what are the things that your partner is that just wishes not to work with you on. You tally it up, and if you've got an answer where um, you're on your own, you've got more numbers or a higher number signifying that you're on your own, then this is a perfect time to map out an exit plan. An exit plan is a plan to exit that relationship, because that relationship is definitely not for you and not for your partner also. Now, this might sound very easy to say, but it's difficult to do, yes. But it only gets more tougher as time goes on. So this is a perfect time to leave, yes. But you have to leave on facts and not your emotions. You have to leave whatever it is that you want to leave. You got to base it on facts. And the only way you can base it on facts is by approaching the other person and writing down, are they willing to comply or not? Yes, in the past you may have got a no as an answer, but you need to give it one last chance so that you have the figures in front of you. And when you map out an exit plan, that plan should obviously not happen immediately, but you should have the plan and you should exit that. And it's all determined by the length of your relationship, how serious is the relationship, and if you have dependence. It's different for everybody. Obviously, if you have dependence, mapping out such a plan could take you 6 months. It could take you 3 months. It could take you a year. Obviously, if you're just dating, it can take you a month. You need to wane off that karmic entanglement. Therefore, it is absolutely important to take your time, even though you need to close chapters during a full moon. That is good as enough by coming to an agreement with yourself that this is no longer working for me. That is as good as enough of just walking away. Yes. You don't have to literally walk away during a full moon, but a plan to do so and sticking to it is just as good. So I hope this answers your question. And for everybody that is going through such an instance and you need more clarification on this, I'm always open to talk to you personally. You can always WhatsApp me on 07633101118. You can choose option number 1 from the PDF. Thank you, dear listeners. Jai Shri Ram, Om Namah Shivaya, Jai Shri Krishna, Hari Bol, and goodbye.